Alright, how's everybody doing? Tommyboy, Bible Believer, King James Version. It's March 27th, Friday, 2020. And I wanted to do a quick video on the Bride of Christ. And the Bride of Christ is not the church. I'm just going to flat out say that. Because it's common knowledge that a bride isn't a bride until the marriage. And the marriage isn't until Revelation 21. Right? Revelation 19, you start to read about. So, you know, if I'm getting married, say I'm getting married and I'm engaged to my fiance, and the wedding is, say, in October of 2020, is she a bride? She's engaged to be married, but she's not a bride until October of 2020, you know? So, in verse 2 of chapter 21 of Revelation, we read, "And I, John, saw the holy city, New Jerusalem, coming down from God out of heaven, prepared as a bride adorned for her husband." So the first thing you see is there's a city, okay? New Jerusalem. And it's interesting that the bride, in chapter 17, you have you read about the whore, which is Babylon, and that's a city, and that's the apostate, that's the unbelievers. Here you have New Jerusalem, which is also a city, and it's for the believers. See, the bride of Christ is believers. Every believer that's ever believed in all ages, Old Testament, New Testament. Okay, let's go to Revelation 19:7. "Let us be glad and rejoice and give honor to him, for the marriage of the Lamb is come, and his wife hath made herself ready. And to her was granted that she should be arrayed in fine linen, clean and white, for the fine linen is the righteousness of the saints." And we know in the Old Testament that they're saints. They're called saints. In 21:24 we read, "And the nations of them which are saved shall walk in the light of it, and the kings of the earth do bring their glory and honor into it." So you have saved and you have saints. That is the bride of Christ, and it's that simple. Now, go down to 21:12, and it starts to describe the city. Verse 10, it says, "And he carried me away in the spirit to a great high mountain, and showed me that great city, the holy Jerusalem, descending out of heaven from God, having the glory of God, and her light was like unto a stone, most precious, even like jasper stone, clear as crystal." Verse 12, "And had a great wall, great and high, and had 12 gates, and at the gates 12 angels, and names written thereon, which are the names of the 12 tribes of the children of Israel." Old Testament. Verse 13, "On the east 3 gates, on the north 3 gates, on the south 3 gates, and on the west 3 gates. And the wall," verse 14, "and the wall of the city had 12 foundations, and in them the names of the 12 apostles of the Lamb." Now, in verse 12, you had the 12 tribes of Israel in this city. And in verse 14, you had the 12 apostles of the Lamb on the foundation. And the wall of the city 12 foundations and in the names of the 12 apostles. Now, that should be all you need, and this video should be over. Right? But just because there's going to be a lot of naysayers, and people say, oh, no. And there's people that say, there's Baptists that say, you're not the bride of Christ unless you're a Baptist. And that's just ridiculous. That's a false doctrine. It doesn't make any sense. And there's some people that say you have to be baptized by a guy that was baptized and goes all the way down the line to John the Baptist. That's ridiculous. All right, Ephesians 2:20. Now, remember what we just read with the foundations of the 12 apostles. Ephesians chapter 2, verse 20. And are built upon the foundations of the apostles and the prophets, Jesus Christ himself being the chief cornerstone. Now, you didn't need any more than what you read in Revelation, but does that put the icing on the cake? Go to Ephesians 2:11. Wherefore remember that ye being times past Gentiles in the flesh, who are called uncircumcision by that which is called the circumcision in the flesh made by hands, that at the time ye were without Christ, being aliens from the commonwealth of Israel and strangers from the covenant of promise, having no hope and without God in the world. But now in Christ Jesus, ye who sometimes were far off are made nigh by the blood of Christ. For he is our peace, who hath made both one, and hath broken down the middle wall partitioned between us, having abolished in his flesh the enemy, I can't say the word, but you know what I'm saying, even the law of commandments contained in ordinance, for to make in himself of twain one new man, so making peace, and that he might reconcile both unto God in one body by the cross, having slain the enemy of God, of thereby, and came and preached peace to you which were far off, and to them that were nigh. For through him we both have access by one Spirit unto the Father. Now therefore ye are no more strangers and foreigners, no more aliens, but fellow citizens with saints of the household of God, and are built upon the foundations of the apostles and the prophets, Jesus Christ himself being the chief cornerstone. It's so clear and so beautiful. Do you need any more than that, even? Galatians, in another place, 3:20 out. Galatians 3:20. Now, brethren, I'm in the wrong spot. All right. Therefore is neither Jew nor Greek, there is neither bond nor free, there is neither male nor female, for ye are all one in Christ Jesus. So, Old Testament, New Testament, heavenly city, bride of Christ, all believers. Go to Hebrews, and we'll finish this up. Hebrews 11. Hebrews 11:9. By faith he sojourned in the land of promise. That's Abraham. As in a strange country, dwelling in tabernacles with Isaac and Jacob, the heirs with him of the same promise. For he looked for a city which hath foundations, whose builder and maker is God. Go down to 13. These all died in faith, not having received the promise, but having seen them afar off, and were persuaded of them, and embraced them, and confessed that they were strangers and pilgrims on the earth. For they that say such things declare plainly that they seek a country, and truly if they had been mindful of that country from whence they came out, they might have had opportunity to have returned. But now they desire a better country, that is in heavenly, Wherefore God is not ashamed to be called their God, for he hath prepared for them a city. Chapter 12. But ye are come into the Mount Zion, and into the city of the living God, the heavenly Jerusalem, to an innumerable company of angels, to the general assembly and church of the firstborn, which are written in heaven, and to God the judge of all, and to the spirits just men made perfect, of just men made perfect. Assembly, church. Moses had a church in the wilderness in Acts 7. Assembly means congregation. Congregation means assembly, church. When you have this quoted, when you have things quoted in Hebrews, the same thing, it says congregation. Here it says church. Now go to 13:13. Let us go forth therefore unto him without the camp, bearing his reproach. Turn the page. For here have we no continuing city, but we seek one to come. So you see that the New Jerusalem is the city that the Old Testament saints, a city that they had no understanding of, but they knew there was promise to them, and they were looking far off. Here it is, Revelation 21. And even before you get to 21:12, when it talks about the 12 tribes, the children of Israel, and the 12 apostles, in verse 14 and 21, just the description. Carried me away and having the glory of God, and her light was like unto a stone most precious, even like a jasper stone, clear and crystal, and the wall. This does and a wall great and high, and were the 12 gates. The gates were the 12. I mean, this doesn't sound like anything like a New Testament church, you know. So I mean, it's so simple. Like I said, chapter 21, you would not have to go any further than chapter 21 of Revelation when you read about the 12 apostles and the 12 tribes and the 12 apostles, you know, all together. But I gave you the other verses in Ephesians and in Hebrews, so that should make it clear. I mean, there are some guys I listen to on YouTube that say that the bride is the church. That is wrong. It's dead wrong. I just proved it. And I hope that you study this out for yourself and, you know, the King James Bible, and you'll realize it too. God bless. Let me know what you think. And I'll see you at the next video. God bless.